Otherworldly Companions. Tensura XORV, by Liv. The exclusive skill, Magic Sense LVL.4 feet has been activated. As I activated the skill, my senses widened like a vast ocean. I could hear, see, and feel the monsters and people everywhere in this station. I tried to find Kim Dokja and the others, yet he was the only one I found. Right now he was being surrounded by monsters preparing to attack. I could hear him saying that he won't die, and that made me fired up. Is there any way I can get there quickly? I thought as I run as fast as I could. Can I use a skill that can be used on those monsters despite our distance? Like a long-range activation? Not teleportation? Yes. I haven't finished analyzing your previous skills, but I was able to reacquire one that can match your description. Thank you. So what is it? It's Flare Circle. Okay. Thank you, Great Sage. I quickly stretched out my hand and activated the skill. The exclusive skill, Flare Circle LVL.2 feet has been activated. The ground below the monsters formed a magic circle and erupted with flames in a circular motion. It was a bit weak compared to the original strength of the skill, but it was enough to burn them to crisp. I finally arrived at the location. I could see Kim Dokja sweating while looking directly at the flames. You won't die, because I won't let you. Those words came out from my mouth. It sounded like a declaration, but it actually was. That Yu Junghyuk guy glanced at my way, with a surprised face. I smiled at him and waved my hand. The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is excitedly waiting for your comeback. The constellation, Lord of Catastrophic Storms, is greatly proud of your camaraderie. The constellation, Tyrant of Destruction, is saying you can do better than that. The constellations are screaming with excitement. You have been sponsored 1,500 coins. Isn't this a good time to show off? I mean, I want that guy to regret his choice for turning me down, and the constellations also sponsor me money for it, so I'll take advantage of this situation. I thought with an evil smile. The flames that was circulating the monsters has vanished. I quickly sprinted behind Kim Dokja, and swung my sword at the monsters trying to attack him. But as I turned around to face him, he suddenly collapsed. I catched him, then gently laying him on the ground. I hope you didn't die. He is not dead, the Great Sage remarked. I know that. Then I stood up and clenched my sword, not enough strength to break it. I was thinking of showing off, but some constellations or even Dokubi might be wary of me if I use too much strength, even though they already are. And using it in front of humans isn't a good idea. The constellations are carefully observing your next move. So I have to set up 2 barriers to avoid bigger casualties. The exclusive skill, Multi-Layer Barrier LVL.3 feet had been activated. The first barrier was to protect Kim Dokja while he sleep, and the other one was to isolate me and the monsters, except for the others. I already planned this move, so you better watch it, Regressor. The exclusive skill, Coercion LVL.5 feet has been activated. A demonic aura bursts out from my body, covering the whole area inside the barrier. My hair flipping and floating in the air as the stream of force were unleashed. The others from the outside couldn't tell what was happening in here, but it was a sight they shouldn't see. The monsters were going insane, some laying on the ground squirming, while others were biting themselves. All of them trembled in fear, completely unable to take a step. I walked forward and pierced the monster's head one by one, but at the same time, I felt bitter. I was a monster once, so killing them made me feel bad a little. But I wasn't crazy like them. I just hope that we won't experience the same thing. Pav End. The massacre continued until the end of the 3rd scenario. The others from the outside were very worried, not knowing what was happening inside, yet they feel reassured of the thought that Rimuru was in there. Suddenly, the barrier disappeared, revealing a bunch of monster corpses lying on the bloody ground, while Rimuru was standing with his sword, blood dripping on its tip. A number of constellations are astonished by the sight. The others were astonished by the sight, not because the fragile-looking guy was able to kill this many, but seeing him unscratched despite the monsters and time made their jaws and eyes wide open. Yu Junghyuk kept his poker face intact, but his mouth was slightly open. He couldn't hide his surprise. He thought that the blue-haired was only strong on stats, but seeing the flame and that wide barrier that blocked him from seeing the inside, completely changed his view about this person. Rimuru walked towards Kim Dokja, who was still sleeping. He picked up and carried the man like a princess, then he walked towards the group. The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is screaming with joy. You have been sponsored 200 coins. He then gave Kim Dokja to Lee Hyunsung. Lee Gilyung was finally free from Yu Junghyuk's grasp. Then he ran towards the group and all of them started going back at the station, except for Rimuru. "Aren't you coming?" Rimuru asked Yu Junghyuk without turning around to face him. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is excitingly waiting for the response. Yu Junghyuk stared at Rimuru's back. That silver-blue hair that seemed to glow in the darkness caught his eyes. It wasn't a normal thing to see, but this world is not normal anymore. It was a surreal sight, but he cannot afford to fall for these things. Yu Junghyuk didn't answer Rimuru, he was in deep thought. Rimuru smirked knowing that the man was zoning out. He must have been regretting his decision already. Rimuru's smirk widened, however, his expectations were far from reality. Yu Junghyuk wasn't in deep thought about regretting his decisions. He was in deep thought because of Rimuru's features were mesmerizing. Rimuru's face was being engraved in his mind, as if there's something burying it deep down inside so he won't forget. That golden eyes staring at him sends shivers down his spine, as if it was looking through his soul. That silver-blue hair flipping in the air as the wind blows through it, and it glows as if it was the only source of light in midst of darkness. He was a beauty, but also a beast. Yu Junghyuk snapped back from his thoughts, and looked around. Rimuru was gone. He left trying to hold his laughter so he won't break Yu Junghyuk's daydream. Yu Junghyuk himself didn't know about this, so he also left the rails and headed back to the station. 30 minutes have passed since the third scenario ended. The others were sitting on the floor, except for Kim Dokja, who was laying while using Rimuru's lap as a pillow. Suddenly, Kim Dokja jolted awake. Rimuru looked downwards. At his lap the man was awake. "Are you okay?" Rimuru asked in a calm manner. "What about the scenario?" Kim Dokja asked instead of answering. He was still not aware that he was using Rimuru's lap as a pillow. "You don't have to worry about that," Rimuru answered, then continued his words. "The thing you have to worry about is yourself." "I'm fine," Kim Dokja remarked. The others noticed him awake, so they quickly gathered around him. It took them a couple of seconds to ease their questions and worries. Kim Dokja was still laying his head on Rimuru's lap, so Young Hee-won made a joke. "Kim Dokja, you must have been enjoying your pillow too much to the point you won't stand up, you're going to make Rimuru uncomfortable you know." Young Hee-won grinned. It took seconds for Kim Dokja to understand, and he quickly stood up and covered his face. "Sorry about that. A few constellations are laughing at the scene." "Haha, no it's okay, you don't have to apologize for it, it's good to hear someone enjoyed my lap as a pillow." Rimuru laughed with the others. The mood was light, despite the area being bloody and filled with corpse. "A few constellations are smiling at your group." Until a man clad in black came with a serious face. They all faced the man and noticed it was Yu Junghyuk. "You. I want to talk for a minute." Yu Junghyuk stared at Rimuru. "Here it comes." Rimuru could only scream internally while keeping his face still to not look dumb. "The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is excited for your next conversation." Rimuru Pav, the exclusive skill, Magic Sense LVL.4 feet has been activated. As I activated the skill, my senses widened like a vast ocean. I could hear, see, and feel the monsters and people everywhere in this station. I tried to find Kim Dokja and the others, yet he was the only one I found. Right now he was being surrounded by monsters preparing to attack. I could hear him saying that he won't die, and that made me fired up. "Is there any way I can get there quickly?" I thought as I run as fast as I could. "Can I use a skill that can be used on those monsters despite our distance? Like a long-range activation? Not teleportation?" "Yes. I haven't finished analyzing your previous skills, but I was able to reacquire one that can match your description." "Thank you. So what is it?" "It's Flare Circle." "Okay. Thank you Great Sage." I quickly stretched out my hand and activated the skill. The exclusive skill, Flare Circle LVL.2 feet has been activated. The ground below the monsters formed a magic circle and erupted with flames in a circular motion. It was a bit weak compared to the original strength of the skill, but it was enough to burn them to crisp. I finally arrived at the location. I could see Kim Dokja sweating while looking directly at the flames. "You won't die, because I won't let you." Those words came out from my mouth. It sounded like a declaration, but it actually was. That Yu Junghyuk guy glanced at my way, with a surprised face. I smiled at him and waved my hand. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is excitedly waiting for your comeback. The constellation, lord of catastrophic storms, is greatly proud of your camaraderie. The constellation, tyrant of destruction, is saying you can do better than that. The constellations are screaming with excitement. You have been sponsored 1500 coins. Isn't this a good time to show off? I mean, I want that guy to regret his choice for turning me down, and the constellations also sponsor me money for it, so I'll take advantage of this situation. I thought with an evil smile. The flames that was circulating the monsters has vanished. I quickly sprinted behind Kim Dokja, and swung my sword at the monsters trying to attack him. But as I turned around to face him, he suddenly collapsed. I catched him, then gently laying him on the ground. I hope you didn't die. He is not dead, the great sage remarked. I know that. Then I stood up and clenched my sword, not enough strength to break it. I was thinking of showing off, but some constellations or even Dokubi might be wary of me if I use too much strength, even though they already are. And using it in front of humans isn't a good idea. The constellations are carefully observing your next move, so I have to set up 2 barriers to avoid bigger casualties. The exclusive skill, Multi-Layer Barrier LVL.3 feet, had been activated. The first barrier was to protect Kim Dokja while he sleep, and the other one was to isolate me and the monsters, except for the others. I already planned this move, so you better watch it, regressor. The exclusive skill, Coercion LVL.5 feet, has been activated. A demonic aura bursts out from my body, covering the whole area inside the barrier. My hair flipping and floating in the air as the stream of force were unleashed. The others from the outside couldn't tell what was happening in here, but it was a sight they shouldn't see. The monsters were going insane, some laying on the ground squirming, while others were biting themselves. All of them trembled in fear, completely unable to take a step. I walked forward and pierced the monster's head one by one, but at the same time, I felt bitter. I was a monster once, so killing them made me feel bad a little. But I wasn't crazy like them. I just hope that we won't experience the same thing. POV end. The massacre continued until the end of the 3rd scenario. The others from the outside were very worried, not knowing what was happening inside, yet they feel reassured of the thought that Rimuru was in there. Suddenly, the barrier disappeared, revealing a bunch of monster corpses lying on the bloody ground, while Rimuru was standing with his sword, blood dripping on its tip. A number of constellations are astonished by the sight. The others were astonished by the sight, not because the fragile-looking guy was able to kill this many, but seeing him unscratched despite the monsters and time made their jaws and eyes wide open. Yu Junghyuk kept his poker face intact, but his mouth was slightly open. He couldn't hide his surprise. He thought that the blue-haired was only strong on stats, but seeing the flame and that wide barrier that blocked him from seeing the inside, completely changed his view about this person. Rimuru walked towards Kim Dokja, who was still sleeping. He picked up and carried the man like a princess, then he walked towards the group. The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is screaming with joy. You have been sponsored 200 coins. He then gave Kim Dokja to Lee Hyunsung. Lee Gilyung was finally free from Yu Junghyuk's grasp, then he ran towards the group and all of them started going back at the station, except for Rimuru. Aren't you coming? Rimuru asked Yu Junghyuk without turning around to face him. The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is excitingly waiting for the response. Yu Junghyuk stared at Rimuru's back. That silver-blue hair that seemed to glow in the darkness caught his eyes. It wasn't a normal thing to see, but this world is not normal anymore. It was a surreal sight, but he cannot afford to fall for these things. Yu Junghyuk didn't answer Rimuru. He was in deep thought. Rimuru smirked, knowing that the man was zoning out. He must have been regretting his decision already. Rimuru's smirk widened, however, his expectations were far from reality. Yu Junghyuk wasn't in deep thought about regretting his decisions. He was in deep thought because of Rimuru's features were mesmerizing. Rimuru's face was being engraved in his mind, as if there's something burying it deep down inside so he won't forget. That golden eyes staring at him sends shivers down his spine, as if it was looking through his soul. That silver-blue hair flipping in the air as the wind blows through it, and it glows as if it was the only source of light in midst of darkness. He was a beauty, but also a beast. Yu Junghyuk snapped back from his thoughts, and looked around. Rimuru was gone. He left trying to hold his laughter so he won't break Yu Junghyuk's daydream. Yu Junghyuk himself didn't know about this, so he also left the rails and headed back to the station. 30 minutes have passed since the 3rd scenario ended. The others were sitting on the floor, except for Kim Dokja, who was laying while using Rimuru's lap as a pillow. Suddenly, Kim Dokja jolted awake. Rimuru looked downwards. At his lap the man was awake. Are you okay? Rimuru asked in a calm manner. What about the scenario? Kim Dokja asked instead of answering. He was still not aware that he was using Rimuru's lap as a pillow. You don't have to worry about that. Rimuru answered, then continued his words. The thing you have to worry about is yourself. I'm fine, Kim Dokja remarked. The others noticed him awake, so they quickly gathered around him. It took them a couple of seconds to ease their questions and worries. Kim Dokja was still laying his head on Rimuru's lap, so Young Hee-won made a joke. Kim Dokja, you must have been enjoying your pillow too much to the point you won't stand up, you're going to make Rimuru uncomfortable, you know. Young Hee-won grinned. It took seconds for Kim Dokja to understand, and he quickly stood up and covered his face. Sorry about that. A few constellations are laughing at the scene. Haha, no, it's okay. You don't have to apologize for it. It's good to hear someone enjoyed my lap as a pillow. Rimuru laughed with the others. The mood was light, despite the area being bloody and filled with corpse. A few constellations are smiling at your group. Until a man clad in black came with a serious face. They all faced the man and noticed it was Yoo Jung-hyuk. You. I want to talk for a minute. Yoo Jung-hyuk stared at Rimuru. Here it comes. Rimuru could only scream internally while keeping his face still to not look dumb. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is excited for your next conversation. Rimuru Pav, here it comes. My plan for making him regret is working, even though I don't see the point why I'm doing this. I stood up and followed him. Kim Dokja and the others could only stare at us while we leave for distance. We weren't that far away. I faced Yoo Jung-hyuk, and he also did the same. I could see his hesitation for a moment before looking straight to my eyes, then slowly averting his gaze on the ground. He tried to open his mouth to say something, but closed it afterwards. He couldn't say something to me. He might still thinking of what to say after that rejection, right? Or maybe he's lost in words after seeing me back there. While thinking of those thoughts, I heard him mumble something. I snapped back and listened to his mumbling, but I couldn't hear his voice anymore. He stopped. I didn't even pay attention to what he's saying a few seconds ago, but I heard him talking about subordinate and round. I couldn't hear the other words he said because of that mumbling and small voice, so I complained. Hey, why don't you speak normally? I didn't hear it, you know. Are you shy? The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, agrees with you. I could see Yoo Jung-hyuk being irritated and holding himself back from unsheathing his sword. I smirked as I saw him trying to calm down. He probably thinks he can't take me on a fight right now. Are you deaf? Surprisingly, this guy spoke with a loud and questioning tone that was filled with a slight sarcasm. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is feeling offended. This constellation must be confused on who he was asking. A few constellations are enjoying your small talk. The smirk on my face disappeared, and a thick mark appeared on my forehead. It was a sign that I was irritated. However, saying something would only waste my time. I have to keep my cool. Shut up, just get to point already. Speak normally so I can hear it. Even though I can hear it in different volumes of sound. The only reason why I couldn't hear his words a few seconds ago was simply because I didn't pay attention. Yoo Jung-hyuk stayed silent, then he opened his mouth to speak. Be my subordinate. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is smiling. The constellation, secretive plotter, is listening carefully. Subordinate. Not companion. It kinda felt the same, but also different at the same time. Those guys will only hinder you down. So come with me instead. I can help you gain more strength and fight, until we can reach the end of the scenarios. A number of constellations are taking interest in your conversation. This guy was being serious, so I immediately think of an answer and used thought acceleration. It would be beneficial for the both of us, since I can help him reach the end of the scenarios, while he can help me gain more strength, in which I doubt he could. Plus, being with a guy like him would only make me progress faster than the others. So what do you think, Great Sage? His offer is more advantageous to himself than for Master. Master can gain more strength with my help, so his offer would be deemed unnecessary. You're right. I already have you, so why would I need it? Still, helping this guy with his dreams aren't that bad, right? He said that my friends will only hinder me down, so he's saying he won't? He will still hinder you down, Master. It might be due to conflict and fighting, since Master's belief is different from this individual. And also, he has a weak mind. Enemies can take advantage of that and use his weakness to control him through mind control. I see, so the problem is his mentality, not his strength. He still have the aspects to hinder me down, but what if I'm beside him? It will only result to destruction, since both of you will fight. Why? Can't you dispel mind control? I can, but the skills used to dispel mind controlling based attacks are currently invalid. Analysis for master's skills are still ongoing, currently analyzing the most useful skill to master. You can but you can't. Oh well, I guess I am the same. So even with the strongest person can hinder me down. What about them? The people who I assumed to be friends. They can also hinder you down, master. Their growth is still slow, however, you can help them with it, and it includes the individual you're facing right now. You have the ability to help them grow. But the conditions of that ability doesn't apply to the individual Yu Junghyuk. So I have that kind of ability? Was it the skill provide from the orc disaster? But I don't have any connections to them like the soul circuit. So what are the conditions for it? Faith and physical contact. What? You can provide strength and skills, similar to what you said to the individual Kim Dokja. It needs faith and physical connection since you have no bond through souls. Using the receiver's faith as an extension wire for connection, while the provider's physical contact to them will be the plug. When both of these are present, provision of strength and skills are possible but limited. Okay. I didn't understand that, but okay. I just have to make them trust me, right? Since some of them trust me already, isn't this a good start? The only problem was this guy, Yu Junghyuk. He don't trust me, and that's why I was a subordinate and not a companion. But I won't deem myself between the both of it. I won't accept being a subordinate or a companion from a person who doesn't trust me. So I will say that I am an acquaintance, but on the lesser friendship side. Since we weren't friends at all. I decline. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is shocked. The constellation, secretive plotter, is slightly disappointed. A few constellations are asking for your reason. Those words came out of my mouth, and I did it without thinking. But I calmed myself down. Your help for making me gain more strength is unnecessary. I can gain strength from time to time by myself. And whoever I choose would only hinder me down, and that includes you. A number of constellations are intrigued by your statement. The constellation, Lord of Catastrophic Storms, is smiling. I said while looking at the ground below me. I couldn't look at the face of the man in front of me. I felt guilty for doing this. Everyone has weaknesses, and that includes us both. Your strength is sufficient enough for fast progress, but your mind isn't. So I have to turn down your offer. Raising my head up to face Yu Junghyuk, I could see a hint of disappointment in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. I felt like my heart got broken, seeing him like that. Being a person who regrets from time to time, he must have been finding someone who can help him end it. Yu Junghyuk didn't say anything and turned his back on me, but I couldn't end it like this, not this time. But I can still help you reach the end of the scenarios. I can't accept being your subordinate, but think of me as an acquaintance instead. You can think of whatever you want about that. The constellation, Demok-like judge of fire, is smiling again. Yu Junghyuk stopped, but then continued walking. I didn't stop here though, so I continued also. I released something from my stomach sack, and a phone appeared on my hand. Great Sage engraved a telepathic rune inside the phone, so when he calls me, it will be directed on my mind. Something like a telepathic device. I throwed it to Yu Junghyuk's head, and he catched it before it hit him. I quickly say something so he won't break the phone. You can call me if you need my help, or not, it's your choice. Yu Junghyuk didn't say anything and stood still. After a few seconds he leaved. I guess I'll take that as a yes for a question I didn't ask. I just hope he won't break it after seeing my surprise. Pav and Yu Junghyuk walked away, and Lee Jae-hee followed him, but he ordered her to go first. Now he was alone, thinking about Rimuru's offer while walking. He was considering of declining it, but the thought of Rimuru not appearing on the next regression made him stop and say nothing. Yu Junghyuk took a glance at the phone Rimuru gave. He opened it and what awaits him inside the screen was a wallpaper of Rimuru smiling. He immediately closed the phone and clenched it, not enough strength to break the phone. He quickly walked on the staircase, his heart beating faster as he took one step on every single stair. He didn't understand what was happening. He thought that his heart was beating faster because of anger and irritation, but he knew it was something else, and it was something that he probably doesn't want to know. After Rimuru and Yu Junghyuk's conversation ended, Rimuru went for a stroll, exploring the station while avoiding the Landlord Alliance. He also went to help some people who survived. Even though they weren't that many, he still gave them more food enough to fill a bag. Rimuru was being proud of himself, yet he kept being humble and used honorifics to the strangers he helped. He kept doing this, despite his rations going low, because of the coins that keep popping on his screen every time he shows some kindness to others. Most of them are from the constellations of the Absolute Good, and Rimuru was very grateful for it. Once he was done, he went back to the group, and the others seemed to do something. When he announced his presence, the others greeted him. It went for a few minutes for them to stop until both Kim Dokja and Rimuru were now alone. Where did they go? Are you up to something? Rimuru asked, curious of what was going on. The others were there to greet him, but Lee Hyunsung wasn't there. He thought that Lee Hyunsung was the focus of this scheme they're doing. I told them to encourage Lee Hyunsung. Kim Dokja answered quick, while looking at the direction where the others left. For what reason? So his attribute can blossom. Kim Dokja faced Rimuru, and met his gaze. Again, it was the same thing again. Every time he looks at those eyes, he gets distracted. As if there's something pulling his attention towards Rimuru. I also want to say thank you for saving me. Kim Dokja broke out from the distraction. It was nothing, I only did what needs to be done. Rimuru smiled, reaching his hands to Kim Dokja for a handshake. Kim Dokja also smiled, seeing Rimuru's smile made his heart flutter, so he accepted the handshake without thinking. It was a long handshake. Kim Dokja was being nervous because Rimuru didn't let go of his hand. He started thinking about things that is far from reality, until a notification popped in his screen. The incarnation, Han Rimuru, has given you the skill, Waterblade LVL.1 feet. Kim Dokja got surprised, seeing the screen in front of him. His gaze landing on Rimuru, who had kept his smile. This was part of the contract, wasn't it? It isn't really that much, but I hope it will help you. Rimuru snorted, finally letting go of Kim Dokja's hand and walked away. Kim Dokja could only stare at him with wide eyes. After Rimuru left and went to Lee Hyunsung, Kim Dokja tested his new skill with his unbreakable faith. He tried to look for a target and found a large debris from the floor that was shattered by Rimuru and Junghyuk's impact. Kim Dokja stanced himself, gripping the sword's handle while the sword was still unsheathed. The skill, Waterblade LVL.1 feet has been activated. Kim Dokja's sword sheathed as he swung it towards his front. A blue color glow escaped from the sword and forming a crescent-shaped water, flying towards the large debris with a swift speed, and finally cutting it to half. The move he made was strong, that even the wall behind the debris left a scar. It was like a typical samurai finishing move he could only see at movies. Silence enveloped the whole area. Kim Dokja could only stare at disbelief. Even though the skill was at level 1, the output didn't convince him. It was supposed to be at 3 or more, but imagining the skill at level 10, it would be really dangerous. It wasn't really that much? Rimuru, are you kidding me? A clap broke the silence in the whole area. Kim Dokja turned around and found the source of that sound. It was Lee Jae-hee. He could see her mouth wide open while she still clapped her hands. Ajushi. How did you do that? Lee Jae-hee walked towards Kim Dokja. I just swung my sword, Kim Dokja answered. It was obvious that he was lying with that face. Lee Jae-hee didn't believe him. That's obviously a lie, but, are you really that strong? Are you strong enough to beat Master? Or that girl? More questions from Lee Jae-hee followed from one to another. Kim Dokja couldn't help but back away. Stop, I can't give you an answer if you ask more. Kim Dokja exclaimed loudly. After a long interview which Kim Dokja faked his answers, he started to reveal his plans to destroy the Landlord Alliance. Meanwhile, Rimuru was walking towards Lee Hyunsung. After a short briefing with the group, he finally understood what to do. Great Sage also instructed him what to do first. Lee Hyunsung noticed Rimuru walking towards him, so he smiled. Rimuru, you're back. Lee Hyunsung greeted him first. Yeah, I just came back a little while ago and I came to see you first. Rimuru sat beside Lee Hyunsung. Why me? Lee Hyunsung asked in wonder. He felt like he was special because Rimuru came to see him first, because of that his mood was lightened. If only he knows that it was lie, he wouldn't have that expression on his face. Because you worked hard today and yesterday, without getting a proper rest. Rimuru smiled a little. No. That's not true. Compared to what you did for us, I merely did anything. Lee Hyunsung mood lessened. Don't say that, you still protected the others with all your might. During our travel, every time monsters slip out of my sight, you came forward to protect the group, so you shouldn't underestimate yourself. I'm very glad that you're with us too, so if the time comes that I won't be around, I want you to protect the others. Is that okay? Lee Hyunsung was embarrassed, but his expression turned to worry after hearing that Rimuru will entrust the group's safety to him. His heart started to beat faster than normal, thinking of what might happen if he failed. Why me? Do you really trust me that much? Lee Hyunsung couldn't help but question Rimuru. Yes. I trust you from the bottom of my heart. Seeing on how dependable person you are, I truly believe that you are capable of something that others can't easily do. Rimuru held his chest, where his human heart beated. Lee Hyunsung's mood went up high. Hearing that someone trusts him this much made his day. Yet he still have doubts and worries. I can't protect the others while fighting in the front lines, and sometimes I can't protect myself, but with you here, I feel very protected. The others might also feel the same. That's why I'm asking you. Can you protect them? Rimuru asked with a smile. Lee Hyunsung could only accept it. Someone trusted him this much that even the safety of others were entrusted to him. He felt very dependable. He could now feel the power he was waiting for. Rimuru and Lee Hyunsung exchanged goodbyes. The blue-haired was now gone, leaving Lee Hyunsung behind, sitting at the floor. A little bit of patience, and I'll finally get the power to protect them. Lee Hyunsung clenched his fist. He was full of determination. His attribute was ready to blossom, but he kept his patience because he felt like it still wasn't the time. He could only imagine what power he would get after his attribute blossomed. Rimuru was walking around the corner. He left the others after talking to Lee Hyunsung. He recalled some of the words he said. If the time comes, I won't be around. That sentence placed him in a deep thought. If that time comes. I hope they. After some time, Kim Dokja went back and proceeded to his plan to take the landlord down. All of them started to do their parts, and Lee Jae-hee also helped. Young Hee-won destroyed the green zones along with Sangha and Gilyung, while Lee Hyunsung and Kim Dokja invaded Gong Pildu's territory and destroyed it. After all the zones are invalid, the monsters started to appear. Kim Dokja and the others went to the stairs and destroyed the stairs after. The people except his group was left on the lower floor, and all of them were forced to fight the monsters while depending on Gong Pildu. Meanwhile, Rimuru was on standby. He didn't take part of the plan since he was absent during Kim Dokja's discussion, but he was well aware of what was happening. Even in a great distance, he could hear all of it. Rimuru decided to go after them, but a ringing phone call sound in his ear made him stop on his track. It was a call from Yoo Jung-hyuk. Rimuru Pav. I answered the phone call telepathically, but no one answered. I immediately took action, but stopped because I don't know where he is. The location has been provided through the telepathic phone connection that was engraved in the phone from the individual, Yoo Jung-hyuk. So it's like a GPS? Yes. Hence, creating a map through the newly reacquired skill, Mental Map LVL.3 feet is now possible. Would you like to proceed? Yes. Understood. The exclusive skill, Mental Map LVL.3 feet has been activated. Different visions of location ahead of me was created in my mind, as if I could see the future location I'm heading towards. It was the same skill that I used in the labyrinth, aka Dwelling of Spirits. But I couldn't get a grasp of Yoo Jung-hyuk's location, but I could feel that I'm getting close. As I was getting close, I could see a door ahead of me. I could feel something from it, but I ignored that feeling and went ahead. You have discovered a hidden dungeon. This dungeon has already been discovered. The discovery achievement cannot be obtained. A new hidden scenario has arrived. Hidden scenario, Cinema Dungeon. Category, Hidden. Difficulty, a clear conditions. Defeat the master of the Cinema Dungeon. Time limit, none compensation, 4,000 failure. Dash 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 dash. You have entered the Cinema Dungeon. An eerie feeling crept under my skin, but it didn't mean I was scared. I continued to run forward, passing through a number of torn posters that was still intact on the wall as I gave it a little attention. People must have been here already. I wonder what they did to those posters. I felt Great Sage being on guard, so I halted, standing cautiously while eyeing my surroundings. I turned around to face the wall and saw a poster that was left untouched. What is this? Is this the Avengers movie? A little laugh escaped from my mouth as I couldn't stop myself from touching the poster. As my fingers touched the poster, it suddenly ripped. A light coming from above descended on me, as if I was in a stage show. the light consuming me, and I started to glow translucent. You have been shot by the projection beam. The screening will now begin for your floor. I started to disappear slowly with the light. I closed my eyes and opened it again. I was in a different place. I was in the middle of a battlefield with a group of people. I stared at everyone and shifted my sight in front, alien-like monsters rapidly running towards us. This was the first Thanos invasion in Wakanda. I got excited by the thought and accidentally punched the alien to bits. Its blood sticking on my hand as I cringed, my face full of disgust. I remembered that I still have an important matters to do, so I have to go and kill the antagonist of this movie. I immediately flew from the scene, heading towards the woods where Thanos will get the Mind Stone. As I was floating on the air, I could see a bright red light from a woman blasting Thanos, but didn't affect him, only slowing him down. It was Wanda. She was in the middle of destroying the Mind Stone, but Thanos disturbed her. I stretched out my hands on Thanos. An electric crackling sound from my hand formed a dark shade of lighting hovering around it. The exclusive skill, Black Lighting LVL 0.3 feet, has been activated. I launched the skill at Thanos, blasting him away from Wanda. He was sent flying, then rolling on the ground while his body steaming from the burn. I swiftly flew towards Thanos with a great speed, unsheathing my sword to cut his arms, but a great bolt of power escaped from the Infinity Gauntlet in his hands. I dodged the bolt by rolling over to the right side, and I ended up landing on the ground. I looked towards Thanos, who was healing himself using the Time Stone. What a cheat! I screamed internally, but my focus didn't waver. I just have to kill this guy, then the movie ends, I'll be back at the cinema. That was the thing I was more focused about. The big-headed grape only grunted. He was very cautious of my existence. I launched Black Lighting towards him, but ended up being absorbed, then firing it back at me with more force and power. Isn't this bad? I dodged the attack and it fired past through me. A loud bang behind me could be heard. I didn't need to turn around to see if the place behind me was wiped out. Thanos and me stared with a huge tension of killing intent. It was a matter of few seconds before the Mind Stone cracked. Thanos tried to blast me off, then running towards the Mind Stone to restore it. I dodged the attack and headed towards him with a great speed. Before Thanos could snap, a sticky steel thread wrapped his body, immobilizing him. I channeled magic to my sword, as it started to glow dark shadings. The sword was filled with black lighting and flames, with a ferocious crackling sound coming from it. A resolution expressed by my face as I started to walk towards him. This is the end on the movie. I don't have the time to play with this grape. I halted and swung my sword very hard at his body, slicing him to two. His two pieces slumped on the ground. The Infinity Gauntlet was still in his hand. I tried to grab the gauntlet but was stopped by an axe pointing at my neck. I shifted my attention towards the holder, and as expected, it was Thor. I backed away from him. The axe was still at my neck. People started to appear one by one with curious faces. Who are you? Thor asked with suspicion. Everyone tensed and looked at me. The Cinema Master is pleased with your ending. The Cinema Master is somewhat unsatisfied with your ending. The door to the next floor is now open. It took me time to process what I had to say. Should I tell them that I'm Han Rimuru? I am. You have reached the first ending credit. It was then I let my intrusive thoughts speak up. I am Rimuru Tempest. And I am inevitable. Those words escaped from my mouth and I could only scream at myself internally as I started to disappear. Cast. Rimuru Tempest. You have received 1,000 coins for your performance. I closed my eyes as I disappeared completely from their eyes. I felt like I was put in a deep state of unconscious, yet I could hear a voice in my head. It might be Great Sage or something else. I couldn't differ because I couldn't hear properly. The analysis of the Infinity Gauntlet has been unsuccessful. Gathering the analyzed data from the object, successful. You have obtained the possibility for a new stigma. The final analysis for the reacquiring of the unique skill, Gluttony, has been successful. Rimuru Pav. I heard Great Sage mumble something before, but I couldn't hear it clearly. I felt like a strong weight of burden was placed on my whole body. I struggled to open my eyes, and by the time I opened them fully, I was in a bed. The bed was very short that my legs were hanging on the edges. I quickly get up and notice there were 6 other beds placed aligned with the one I'm sitting on. I observed more and counted a total of 7 little beds in this place. Speaking of this place, it was very small. It was matter of seconds before I observed myself and noticed I was wearing a dress. My hair was short and my lips were red. What? I was very surprised because of my appearance that seemed like a princess, but I ignored it afterwards. I didn't really change that much, I looked like a princess even before this. I got up and started exploring the place. It was kind of dusty like an old attic, so I cleaned it. While I was cleaning, I opened the windows and the birds started to chirp loudly before landing on my shoulders. It was kind of cute. I tried to chuckle but I ended up humming a lullaby. I closed my mouth after hearing the sounds. Have I really lost my mind? Am I really going to be a princess? Those thoughts get ahead of me and my sweat started to drop from my chin. The birds on my shoulders flew away, and chirped loudly as if barking like a dog. It was then I noticed a presence behind me. I turned my heels and faced an old woman outside the window. "Hi, young lady." The old woman greeted at me with a smile, and it wasn't a pleasant face to see. "Hello, Gobta." I don't like being judgmental, but something is off with this old woman. I realized that I called someone else instead of this woman. The woman just looked at me dumbfounded and blinked her eyes many times. She just shrugged it off and chuckled. The way she dressed was like in the Snow White movie I watched a few years ago. But I ignored the thoughts and focused on the old woman. We held a conversation and I ended up letting her enter the house. This house isn't mine, so I kinda felt horrible of myself. I went and get her water and I started stating my impression of her in my mind. The way she dressed was like a witch from Disney, and that face with a long nose made me compare him to Gobta even though they were totally different. This woman is really like the witch from Snow White. If she handed me an apple right now, I'd freak out and start laughing out loud. And just as I half expected, she gave me an apple. I started to get freaked out but I didn't reveal it in front of the old woman's face. I even held myself from laughter. "Come on, eat the apple," the old woman urged me to eat it while playing with her hands. "You didn't put poison in this apple, didn't you?" I accepted the apple, and asked the old woman with suspicion. The old woman started to sweat and laughed lightly. "No way. Why would I poison the person who welcomed me here gladly?" The old woman spoke with a sweet voice and a sweet gesture. I eyed the woman up and down, then gave my response. "Okay then." I shrugged it off and immediately ate the apple. In a matter of few seconds, I started coughing. "What the?" I could see the old woman grinning in front of me while watching me suffer. I dropped on my knees and started shouting. "You old hag. Why did you lie?" The old woman just laughed evilly and stared at me. "I thought you were smart, but I guess you were just a kind yet dumb girl, Snow White. The exclusive skill, Poison Resistance LVL.3 feet has been activated." The woman started to laugh again, with an evil and loud laugh. I grabbed the apple on the floor beside me and shoved it on the old woman's mouth without a second thought. The woman urged to fight off but ended up eating the apple. The old woman started to cough and dropped on her knees. Her true appearance started to show, revealing a beautiful woman. She tried to speak but her mouth was shut as she stumbled on the floor. It was then, the tables have been turned, and I was the one who's letting an evil laugh. The kind and dumb girl Snow White is no more. I carried the woman outside and placed her in a stone. A bunch of birds helped me by placing flowers beside the woman's body. I heard a neigh of a horse, so I hid in the bushes. There was a white horse, and a handsome man in a formal outfit befitting a noble. It was the prince. The man got off the horse and approached the woman who I just placed on the stone. He inspected the woman, reminiscing on her beautiful face. "Seriously, if this guy is going to kiss her, I'll laugh." And as expected, the prince kissed the woman. The cinema master is somewhat pleased with your ending. The woman woke up and faced the man. The door to the next floor has opened up. At a few moments, I started to disappear like a hologram. You have reached the second ending credit. Cast, Rimuru Tempest. You have received 500 coins for your performance. I couldn't see the full thing of what happened next to the woman and that prince guy, but I just shrugged it off and chuckled. Villains also get a good ending. If I didn't use poison resistance, I would have get myself kissed by the prince or any other dudes, and I didn't like that, do I? Anyways, I just hope the next movie won't be romance and fairy tale. Rimuru Pav. I'm currently walking towards the F5 location and surprisingly, I entered a reward room. Good thing I was alone. Now I'm going to bring this back home, hehehe. You are limited to 2 reward items per person. Or not. Seriously, if you want to reward someone then don't be cheap. These guys failed my expectations. Now I'm disappointed. I shouldn't expect too much next time. I continued to walk and passed by some useful but useless items to me. I don't need an armor, because I have body armor. and multi-layered barrier. I also don't need swords because I already have one. I should choose wisely or else it will end up useless like my classmates during group activities when I was high school. Anyways, I found Thor's Mjolnir, so I picked it up and found myself worthy. I'm kind of proud of myself, but I already got black lighting, so I don't need it. I placed the Mjolnir back on its spot and continued to look for things. I looked at the items one by one, but faster than a normal person could look. I was actually using analysis on this whole room. I decided to leave and approach the exit, when suddenly a certain item caught my eye in surprise. Instead of taking a step outside, I walked back at the item and broke the glass, carefully picking the item with my shaking hands. My eyes could only stare at amusement while I touched the Infinity Gauntlet. The experience of fighting someone who used this was cool, but owning the item is much cooler. Bad thing it was a replica, but Great Sage insisted of keeping it, and even if I wasn't told, I would keep it nonetheless. Too bad the gauntlet didn't have the stones. Those Dokubi or something really is cautious. I immediately stored the gauntlet in my stomach sack and sprinted. This might be a waste of opportunity if I don't pick something else. So I randomly picked something and ignored what it is and proceeded to the next movie. I was now in an open field of grasses and I was facing a well in the middle of the area. I randomly stand there, waiting for something to happen, but nothing. I instantly noticed that I was holding a frisbee. While looking at the item on my hand, the sound of chapping wet hands made me look towards the well. Someone is crawling up, and I was started to freak out. I know this was going to be a horror since the scenery is very familiar, especially to Japanese people and others who watched this movie. The hand appeared on top of the well, lifting its body, and a woman with a face that is covered with her hair made an eerie body gesture. I didn't hesitate and threw the frisbee at the woman, making a whirling sound and hitting the woman's head, making her stumble on the well and finally fall. A whole echoes of the fall lasted long until it finally quieted down. You have reached the third ending credit. Cast, Rimuru Tempest. You have received 500 coins for your performance. I was walking up the stairs towards the 8th floor. I could feel the chills building inside me as I took every step. My instincts are telling me that something's gonna happen. You have entered ADF, the Sky Garden. The cold air brushed my skin softly as my hair flipped a little. My eyes landing on a certain man, coated in black as he faced the opposite direction. Yu Junghyuk. I took a single step, but my senses suddenly alerted me of something which caused me to stop. My face immediately turned towards the uncanny presence in this area. And there I saw a ghostly man, wearing a suit and a hat. He was an old man and was quite an old-fashioned person. The old man looked at me and smiled weirdly, lifting his hat and bowed lightly for a greeting. Despite him being a gentleman in act, he was clear not that type. Simulation, the cinema master, has revealed himself. I stood there as I watched him cautiously. My eyes were also focused in Yu Junghyuk. That guy was vulnerable to mind attacks, just like what Great Sage told me, so there's no room for explanation on why he is launching punches at me right now. Yu Junghyuk has activated the skill, 100-step fist LVL. 2 feet. I continued to evade his incoming fists towards my face or body, and I backed away from him in a fast pace. Yu Junghyuk unsheathed his blade and started to swing it towards me. I also grabbed my sword to clash with his own. A loud ringing sound echoed as we both exchanged strikes while also defending. I gritted my teeth as I moved my head down to avoid his attack, then taking the opportunity to jab his stomach and kick him away from me. Yu Junghyuk staggered as he was pushed away by my kick. He held his stomach and his expression was kind of irritated. Yu Junghyuk has activated the skill, Blue Star Weapon Aura LVL. 2 feet. I smiled weakly as he launched his blade towards my direction. I gripped my sword tightly and stanced myself for defense. Then as his blade almost reaching my face, I motioned my sword in front to protect myself. The exclusive skill, Magic Aura LVL. 4 feet has been activated. Our blades, swords made a loud clang as wind blows roughly due to the impact. The ground was destroyed and it turned into a large crate while debris flew around like a rain. Both of us staggered to keep our feet from being pushed away from each other's powerful force. Yu Junghyuk. Snap out of it. I yelled at his face while our eyes locked to each other. He seemed emotionless while also being emotional. My words were in vain as he didn't react and continued to exert force to push his blade to me while I held it back with my sword. I gritted my teeth as I looked at the cinema master. He was just sitting like an old man, holding his crane while crossing his legs. He gave me a smile and tapped his crane at the ground. Suddenly, Yu Junghyuk's leg sunk on my stomach and I grunted in pain. I staggered and my grip weakened. He quickly pushed his blade towards me and my sword got lost in direction. Yu Junghyuk! I screamed in horror as I watched Yu Junghyuk holding his blade on the air to motion it on me and attempt to cut me in half. But he didn't. He kicked me again roughly, which caused me to flew on the air and rolling on the ground. I got up and my knees on the ground. I looked at him as he was holding his head and grunting to himself. Did he snapped out of it? Though as I looked at him, I quickly changed my eye direction towards the sword lying down on the ground. It was far away from me. I sprinted towards the sword and then I heard the cinema master thudding his crane on the ground. Yu Junghyuk stopped grunting and looked at me again. Seeing me running towards my sword, he jumped and tried to kick me. But I dashed and rolled on the ground to avoid him. Then grabbing my sword and turned around, motioning the sword in front of me as Yu Junghyuk's blade made contact with mine. The exclusive skill, Hard Blow LVL.5 feet has been activated. I gave him a hard blow, then grabbing his sword as he grunted in pain. He tried to grab my neck and punch me but I stopped his hand. Then I grabbed his wrist and I started to rotate my body to lift him and throw him at the cinema master. The cinema master didn't react despite the body in black flying towards him. He didn't care if he was crushed by the landing of the man or simply because he knows it won't happen. He tapped his crane at the ground once again and Yu Junghyuk's flying body rolled on the air and changed the landing direction. He then landed beside the cinema master and positioned himself in a hand-to-hand combat. Yu Junghyuk has activated the skill, Hunted Step Fist LVL.2 feet. I was starting to get annoyed and my sword disappeared from my hand. I also positioned my hands for a hand-to-hand combat. The exclusive skill, Battle Will LVL.4 feet has been activated. Your fighting spirit has manifested on your hand according to your will. I'm gonna beat the fudge out of you. I growled as an irk on my forehead appeared. My hand glowed with a purple-blue hue as we stared at each other while positioning ourselves, ready to strike in any moment. Our foot buried on the ground and with a flash, we sprinted towards each other, exerting force on our hands as we held it on the air. Then with a moment, our fists didn't met. Yu Junghyuk's hand went through my torso as I coughed blood and my body trembled. I let my tears flow down my cheeks and drop on the ground. The constellation, Lord of Catastrophic Storms, is yelling your name in frustration. The constellation, Tyrant of Destruction, is boiling in rage. Pavend. Wake up. Rimuru pleaded as he looked at Junghyuk's eyes. Rimuru's hand moved forward to his cheeks and touched it gently. More blood gushed out from the blue-haired's mouth as he held it back, but the pain on his ripped-open torso hurt so much. Yu Junghyuk's eyes lit up for a moment, and he stared at Rimuru. He was processing what happened, and that's when he noticed that his right hand were in the wrong place. He looked down and saw his hand buried through Rimuru's torso. His eyes widened for a moment and looked at the blue-haired and tried to say something in panic, but the darkness took over him once again. The cinema master smiled widely in joy as he watched the two being close, but his happiness would be soon crashed by a hand. What are you smiling about? The constellation, Lord of Catastrophic Storms, is relived in smirking. The constellation, Tyrant of Destruction, is telling you to not make them worry. The cinema master turned his face towards the voice with a shock expression. Surprise! Rimuru jumped towards the cinema master with his hands on air for a punch. The cinema master has activated the skill, Mind Control. The old man didn't hesitate to react at the danger. A sickening dark shadow started to whirl around them, and everything went black for a moment. The cinema master grinned as he successfully entered the blue-hair's mind. He laughed maniacally and walked around to peek at Rimuru's memories but found nothing but the place with the absence of light. He was walking in a seemingly endless void of darkness, thinking he can devour the mind of the blue-haired, without knowing he was already devoured and was in the stomach of a starving monster. The wind blew roughly, which caused Yu Junghyuk and Rimuru's dying body to fall down. Debris flew everywhere and the bursting sound of the rough wind took a few seconds to calm down. Yu Junghyuk was too exhausted to look or try to get up, but he held the dying Rimuru around his arms. His hands were covered in blood as he clearly remembered what happened. The constellation, demon-like Judge of Flames, is looking at the scene with teary eyes. At this point, he didn't care about the cinema master. He just held the dying blue on his arms. He felt like if he let go, all of Rimuru would disappear. But even if he didn't let go, Rimuru started to crumble into light particles. He watched the blue-haired turning into a warm light until all of it disappeared. Yu Junghyuk let his drowsiness take over and he collapsed on the ground once again. Meanwhile, the others who were with Kim Dokya ran towards Yu Junghyuk and started to inspect him. Lee Jae-hee worried the most and started to lift his master and tried to wake him up, but Kim Dokya told her to calm down and let her master rest. Let my master rest. Lee Jae-hee's voice trembled, closing in a verge of crying while her eyes did the same. Lee Jae-hee misunderstood what Kim Dokya meant of letting her master rest. I mean, he's tired fighting. Just let him sleep for a while. Kim Dokya's sweat dropped and explained. Then Lee Jae-hee calmed down and wiped her tears. Kim Dokya walked over the large crate and saw a familiar figure lying down. Hi. Rimuru huffed while closing his eyes. He smiled at Kim Dokya and waved his hand. Hey. Kim Dokya smiled and extended his hands towards Rimuru and he helped the blue-haired stand up. Shooting stars were appearing at the dawning sky of Seoul. As the open background of Seoul was seen, with its misery and chaotic view. Seoul has really been destroyed. Young Hee-won looked at the view below them. Look. Shooting stars. Lee Gil-young pointed at the sky and saw beautiful light rays on it. Everyone looked at it and admired the view on the sky, and all of them ended making a wish with a soft smile or praying hand gesture. Aren't you two going to make a wish? Lee Gil-young asked Rimuru and Kim Dokya. I already did. Kim Dokya answered. Lee Gil-young asked him what did he wish. They said that your wish won't come true if you tell others what you wished for. Young Hee-won said, but Kim Dokya didn't mind him. I wished that I would survive to see the epilogue of a certain novel. Kim Dokya revealed his wish as he looked at the man in black, lying on the ground. The others nodded and walked away after getting done of staring at the misery below them, leaving Kim Dokya and Rimuru alone with each other. So, what did you wish for? Kim Dokya looked at the ladder beside him. Rimuru was in deep thought, but he just sighed and looked at the misery below them once again. I wish I can stay here forever with you guys. Rimuru smiled softly as he said those words. Kim Dokja's heart fluttered as if he saw something like a chance, but he calmed himself down and thought it was stupid for him to think that. Did you really? What about your homeworld? Kim Dokja questioned Rimuru softly while holding himself back from showing his smile. Rimuru just stared at Kim Dokja and smiled at him. Kim Dokja didn't get a proper answer, so he assumed that Rimuru will stay. However, Kim Dokja didn't know the true meaning of what Rimuru had said. They said that your wish won't come true if you tell others what you wished for. Those words echoed in Rimuru's head repeatedly. Then he smiled more and revealed his wish again at the man. I wish I can stay here forever with you guys. Telling the exact opposite of what he really wished for. I wish I can go home now. I am Yu Junghyuk. It was the unbelievable thing that Rimuru heard from Kim Dokja. Wow. Amazing. Rimuru chuckled internally while his lips trembled from containing a loud laugh. Good thing his face was hidden under the anti-demonic mask. Young Hee-won and Lee Hyun-sung's sweat dropped at his sudden words while Rimuru contained his laugh inside his head. The trespassers seemed to be doubtful about it, but Kim Dokja knew their skill, in which he threatened and stopped the man. Rimuru, Kim Dokja, Young Hee-won and Lee Hyun-sung were in the Dongmyo station. Kim Dokja was having an undeniable and too obvious acting. People doubt his face if he was really Yu Junghyuk. Meanwhile, Young Hee-won, Rimuru and Lee Hyun-sung were outside guarding him. Inside a large tent, Kim Dokja was crossing his legs as a man were on his knees in front of him. Kim Dokja interrogated the kneeling man named Lee Sung-guk. But as they go further to the interrogation, a loud thud came from outside and both men walked out to see what's going on. Uuikk. A man was on his knees while his neck was being gripped by Rimuru. He struggled for air while trying to escape from Rimuru's grasp. Rimuru. Kim Dokja raised his voice at the blue-haired, and Rimuru turned to his direction and released the man. Sorry, he was trying to pick a fight at us and bossed us around. Rimuru explained while crossing his arms, looking at the crater which was from the impact of Hee-won and the man before Rimuru choked him. He also flirted with Rimuru SSI, Junghyuk Nim, Young Hee-won added. Kim Dokja rubbed his temples at their explanation. Hearing it started to form a headache on his head. Could I ask you a few questions about yourself? The choked man earlier named Young Minsub asked Kim Dokja. You must be doubtful if I was the real Yu Junghyuk or not. Kim Dokja replied coldly. That's and not it. Young Minsub tried to deny while stuttering. Go ahead. Kim Dokja just shrugged it off. From what I remember, you had the delusional demon, Kim Namwoon, with you during your third regression. But I noticed you had a woman and that blue-haired instead. Young Minsub paused. Then he continued. The woman seemed too old to be Lee Jae-hee, and that blue-haired girl is not Lee Jae-hee either. Young Minsub muttered. Kim Dokja looked at him, and then he took a glance at the blue-haired who was standing outside with the other two. He switched his gaze again at the two men in front of him and spoke. Kim Namwoon is dead. He was killed by one of you. The two men got surprised at his words, but they just nodded because of the mood that Kim Dokja had on his face. And also, you. Kim Dokja paused after pointing at young Minsub. Did you really flirted with Rimuru? The blue-haired? Kim Dokja continued with a cold expression. Young Minseob's heart started to beat faster as he started to sweat heavily. I didn't mean to. He's actually a guy. Kim Dokja voiced out in a flat tone, causing young Minsub and the other to be dumbfounded, leaving their mouths agape. Huh? He's a guy, so stay away from him. Kim Dokja looked away as he added. You better back off. Kim Dokja thought to himself, but he quickly shook it off and started to interrogate the two men again. Then Kim Dokja went straight to the blue-haired who was leaning at the corner of the wall where there are no people. Hi. Kim Dokja initiated their usual greeting. It was always, hi, and the other would be, hello. Rimuru smiled under his mask, and waved his hand towards the approaching man. He quickly stood properly and removed the mask from his face, while walking towards the man as the other was also walking towards him. Kim Dokja gave him a shy smile as he scratched his cheeks. Are you okay? Kim Dokja asked. He was asking because of what happened between Rimuru and young Minsub. You should have asked that to the victim. Rimuru replied while smirking. And that's why I'm asking you. Kim Dokja added as he faced Rimuru directly, until their eyes met each other. Rimuru, who heard this, felt his heart skip a beat. He looked away and faked coughed to break the growing tension between them. I'm fine. Rimuru mumbled as he kept his eyes away from Kim Dokja's. The group stared at the secret weapon that the prophets had revealed to them. Kim Dokja's eyes widened and he quickly grabbed Rimuru by the hand and sprinted along with the others. As the four of them ran, the secret weapon that was a meteorite in form started to growl. It was shaking and cracks started to appear on its surface as a fiery light escaped from its tiny cracks. Before someone could get out of the area, a red barrier prevented them from escaping as a new scenario appeared on their screens. Then the meteorite exploded with a steam, filling the area with hot air. Everyone who was close to the meteorite was burnt and killed. The signs of the fifth scenario begins to appear. Kim Dokja stand in front as the others hid behind him. Rimuru stepped beside Kim Dokja and looked at him. Did you know that this was going to happen? Rimuru questioned while looking back and forth at the bright orange light that came from the meteorite. I know what it is, but I didn't know that this was going to happen. Kim Dokja replied as his face showed full of concern while he clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Please don't be a major disaster. Kim Dokja thought as he looked towards the bright orange light that was starting to disappear. When the light slowly dispersed, a dragon was revealed. Tier 5 Fire Dragon, Lesser Dragon Igneel, has appeared. A catastrophe. The dragon's mouth made a shilling sound as it started to form an orb of flames. But a flick of a finger, it disappeared. The dragon behaved as a Dokkaebi appeared. Some constellations are protesting at the sudden spike of difficulty. This isn't good. How did you end up in this route anyway? You guys did seem to get ahead of yourselves lately. How could you awaken a catastrophe when you haven't even finished the fourth scenario yet? The Dokkaebi looked down at the people with seriousness on its expression. Some of you have supporting constellation who cares about you, so I won't let you die, but I still can't lower the difficulty. People who heard the Dokkaebi started to complain and shouted at the small fluffy ball, but it just snapped its fingers and a new sub-scenario appeared at their screens. Dash 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 dash. Less than hidden scenario. United we die, divided we die greater than. Category. Hidden difficulty. A clear conditions. Defeat the minor catastrophe. Lesser dragon Igneel, within the time limit or survive its attacks. Time limit. 20 minutes compensation, 3000 failure, death. There are hidden pieces in the scenario. People who were still alive were running away from the dragon, while Kim Dokja and others were still in their place. Are we gonna fight that thing? Lee Hyunsung asked in a complaining voice. ICA. No, don't ever dream about it. Kim Dokja cut off Rimuru's words. But how are we supposed to survive? It was Young Hee-won's turn to ask. Il-ki. I've got a plan. Kim Dokja cut off Rimuru's words again. An irk appeared on Rimuru's forehead as he was annoyed at the interruption. ICA. The blue-haired tried to speak again, but he was cut off before he can even say what he wanted to. Run clockwise everyone, Kim Dokja instructed them as they started to run away from their spots. Rimuru, who heard this, moved quickly from the spot as a wave of flames shooted out from the dragon's mouth that attempted to burn them on the area they just left. We've managed to dodge its first attack, Kim Dokja thought as he was running away from the dragon's gaze. Tier 5 Fire Dragon, Lesser Dragon Igneel, is preparing to use Flames of Destruction. The dragon started to breathe fire heavily, then in one inhalation, flames started to collect inside its mouth and tried to fire it towards Kim Dokja. But an icicle of ice flew in the air and landed on the dragon's scales, causing it to leave a scratch before it melted away. The dragon looked towards the attacker and saw the blue-haired. It blasted the Flames of Destruction from its mouth without hesitation. Rimuru, who saw this, quickly moved away. The others also occupied the plates that would protect them for a few seconds. Kim Dokja was having a word exchange with the fifth disciple, while they were moving from one place to another, just to occupy a plate. The dragon tackled its tail and hit the people, while its claws went straight towards Rimuru. The blue-haired swiftly evaded the claws and he fired multiple icicles at the dragon's eye. Causing it to stagger and back away from Rimuru, it closed its eyes, then looked at the blue-haired again. It started to gather flames from the air to its mouth, preparing to shoot all of its fiery breath. The exclusive skill, Waterblade LVL.1 feet, has been activated. Crescent-like water flew towards the dragon's direction, attempting to land a scratch, but even without a close distance, it instantly evaporated from the heat that the dragon was emitting. Kim Dokja cursed to himself as he thought that the skill will work since water puts out fire, but it didn't. Because the water can put the fire out, but not the heat. But it didn't stop him from trying. He used the skill many times as possible, but all of it evaporated and caused steams before it could even get close to the dragon. Should I just fire it all? Kim Dokja thought in annoyance. Don't even dream about firing a barrage of water blades, Kim Dokja. We'll die here if you do. Rimuru shouted across the area. He noticed that the latter was getting annoyed. Rimuru started to sprint towards the corner of the room, trying his best to not be burned. He was jumping and running from grounds and walls, until the dragon's attention was averted from him and towards Kim Dokja. The dragon fired its Flames of Destruction towards Kim Dokja, but he avoided it by going down and sprinting towards the flagpole. He held his flag, and with a jump, the flag was placed on the flagpole. You have taken over the Angik station. You have taken control of 10 stations in total. You have completed the hidden scenario, King's Path. Kim Dokja huffed and stood there, king of no killing. Kim Dokja chose, and the dragon fired its flames again towards some people. Then its direction started to go towards Kim Dokja. You should be careful. Kim Dokja huffed as he warned the already burning fifth disciple. You only live once, after all. The dragon started to bend down and locked its mouth towards Kim Dokja's direction. Its mouth started to gather flames and formed a ball, until it fired a stream of flames towards the black-haired. You should say that to yourself. Rimuru appeared in front of the man and stretched out his arms. Devour anything that comes my way. The stigma, Gluttony LVL.2 feet, has been activated. Gluttony, black smoke was released from Rimuru's hands, then it quickly formed a dark vortex and whirled as it consumed all the flames from the dragon. Ha ha ha. How many letters are there in gluttony? Rimuru laughed hysterically while consuming all the flames, until the dark vortex stuck to the dragon's skin. The dragon roared as the vortex started to pull and attempted to consume the dragon, but it failed. Gluttony isn't strong enough to consume larger beings, and it had a low chance of consuming individuals who still have consciousness. The vortex retracted to Rimuru's hand as the dragon's skin was left with corroded skin in different parts of its body. Even its scales cannot endure the corrosive effect from Rimuru's gluttony. The dragon growled as it started to back away in caution. Kim Dokja was bewildered at this scene, looking back and forth towards the blue-haired and the dragon. How? Kim Dokja's eyes were still wide as his mouth was agape. He knew that he can just revive himself after getting burned, but this blue-haired man appeared suddenly and saved his experience from being burned alive. You really are full of surprises, Rimuru, and that's why I won't give you to someone else. Kim Dokja declared internally as his sweat dropped from across his face and then towards the ground. But those thoughts were quickly shaken off by Rimuru. Kim Dokja, run. How about you? I can manage, now go. I won't leave you here, do you want to die? Both of them argued in the middle of a crisis. Even the dragon raised its imaginary brow and gave them a side eye. Then it fired its fiery breath again, causing mayhem in that direction. Rimuru noticed the arriving heat from the flames, and he quickly grabbed Kim Dokja's hand and dragged him away. As the two of them ran, Kim Dokja's eyes landed on the blue ice pill that was rolling on the ground. Rimuru. Kim Dokja pointed at the pill, but he was interrupted by Rimuru. You want some candy? In this situation? I'll give you some later if you survive, and I'll give you a bunch of icicles if you die. Kim Dokja's forehead marked an irk as he quickly explained what those pills meant. Rimuru flushed it with embarrassment as he nodded and picked up the pills from the ground as fast as he could. The others who saw this also grabbed the pills that were close to them. Then they gave it to Kim Dokja and Rimuru. What are you going to do with this? Rimuru asked. Watch and learn, Kim Dokja replied as he took all the pills to his mouth. I can't let you have fun always. Kim Dokja's body started to turn white on the surface of its skin, releasing a cold aura that freezes the ground. Rimuru looked at him and smirked under his mask. The others who was watching this was showing signs of concern. You are protected by the skill, Ice Resistance LVL 0.5 feet. Get behind. Kim Dokja commanded as he brought his sword in front. The sword started to glow with dark linings and a mix of blue from the cold aura. The dragon roared once again as it stomped its way towards Kim Dokja. The man launched himself at the dragon, jumped above and stabbed its weak spot. The dragon roared in pain as it looked at Kim Dokja and gathered flames to its mouth again, but before it could launch its attack, an icicle hit its jaw and the ball of flames exploded in its face. Go finish it, said Rimuru. Kim Dokja quickly held his sword on the air and swung it down towards the dragon's weak spot. It left a trace of ice as it formed a wound in blood. But the dragon didn't give up and whipped the man with its tail. Kim Dokja flew towards the wall as he grunted in pain. The exclusive skill, Icicle Lance LV 0.4 feet has been activated. Multiple icicles fired towards the dragon until one of it landed deeply in the dragon's heart. The dragon roared in pain as it was starting to get frozen. Kim Dokja picked up his sword once again and sprinted towards the dragon. He jumped to an equal footing with the dragon's head, and he slashed it with all of his strength. The head of the dragon dropped on the ground as the body was frozen. You have the first blood of the minor catastrophe. Lesser Dragon Igneel. Analyzing the flames of destruction. From the Lesser Dragon Igneel, successful. You have obtained a possibility for a new stigma.